What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some Neighbors from Hell. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it all massively helps out our channel. Let's dive straight in to today's stories. Now, our first story comes from Catherine, 1990, and it's more of a question asking for advice, as well as a bit of story in there as well. And it's, I have given my intrusive neighbor an inch, and she has taken a mile, and now I feel like a prisoner in my own house. What do I do? My next door neighbor is a middle-aged woman who lives with her elderly mum. Not because her mum needs to be taken care of, I believe it's the other way around. She doesn't work and is basically a little girl in a 50-year-old body. I work from home and this woman is home all day, smoking in the garage and doing who knows what. Whenever I go outside, she magically appears and gives me her expert advice on whatever I'm doing. If I engage in a conversation with her, just to be nice, it'll eat up to 20 to 30 minutes of my time. It's one of those inescapable conversations, and if I do anything, and I mean anything, like bite my fingernail out of nervousness because I don't know when I'll be able to exit this conversation, she'll go, "Stop, wait, I got a cream for that." Or if I shoo away a fly, she'll go, "Wait, I got the best bug spray, top of the line." Everything she has is top of the line, or the most expensive, high quality out there. And she's got something for everything. I literally can't move around her because she's got something for everything I'm doing. One time she caught me painting a statue in my garden. So she came over with boxes and boxes of paint. And once she starts up with a new topic, tack on another 20 minutes of time. I feel like a prisoner at my own house. And that's just my experience with her while I'm outside. Before I knew any of this about her, I made a mistake of inviting her into my house for a cup of coffee. Well, she actually saw me drinking coffee on my front porch one day and asked if she could have one. While I found that a bit intrusive, I felt rude saying no, so I made her one. And while I was making a coffee in my kitchen, she continued talking to me from my front porch, and I couldn't really hear what she was saying. I felt rude, so I invited her into the foyer rather than have her stand outside. Mistake. Now she comes over twice, sometimes 3 times a week for coffee. And whenever she sees me outside, she asks, "Can I have a coffee?" And when she rings my doorbell and I answer the door to greet her, she's already stepping into my house. Like a vampire that I can't stop from coming inside because I've already made the mistake of inviting her in once. And each time she comes over, she's getting more and more comfortable in my house, sitting on my couch. She reeks of cigarette smoke. I don't smoke and prefer to have my house not smelling like that. And now she's asking to borrow things, browsing the shelves in my living room, and then exclaiming, "Oh, my mum would love to read this. You're not reading it right now, right? I'll bring it back. You know where I live anyway." And then she helps herself to an item on the shelf. I don't like being a bitch to people, but I feel like the only way to stop her is to be one. What do I do? I'm a single 30-year-old woman living alone, and I think I'm way too nice, to the point where I let things go beyond what I'm comfortable with. This was my mistake, I know, but how do I undo all of this in the nicest way possible? If I had it my way, I'd have it so that she never comes back into my house ever again. I'm sorry if that sounds bitchy, but she is my neighbor, not my friend. She is not my type of person. We have nothing in common. I just want to be left alone. Now, many moons ago, I would be able to relate to this one quite strongly. I remember someone in my workplace. You know, I'm pretty friendly with anyone, but sometimes, you know, I like my alone time. And in my workplace where I worked at this particular time, there was this woman there who would come talk to me during my lunch break. Whenever she'd see me, she'd come up to me and she'd start talking to me. And very much like this story, always putting her advice where it's not needed and stuff like that. I couldn't read social cues and everything, and it just got to the point of annoyance. I entertained it for a good long while, much like OP did in this situation, and it was very awkward to say the least. And again, I didn't dislike this person, but you know, we weren't gelling. We didn't see eye to eye. This person thought they knew what was best for my life all the time, and I'm always of a strong opinion of, you know, I know what I need in my own life, and in general, I'll ask for advice. So I'm always happy to listen to people with more experience than me on things and stuff like that. But I'll always follow my own heart in the end. But I pretty much let it get to this stage as well, and it's very, very hard. Not to the point of going into my house, but at work where they was like on me all the time, and it was just way too much. And in the end, I had to just say things like, I built it up very slowly. I would say like, I can't talk right now, I'm a bit busy. And pretty blunt, not in a completely nasty way, but a very, look, not right now, I am too busy. It slowly seemed to sink into her that, I'm not interested in talking right now and we're not that compatible. She eventually moved on to someone else, poor other person, but they might be more compatible together, I'm sure someone would find an absolutely amazing person to be around. But word did get back to me one day that she called me a grumpy bastard, but afterwards. But I think you do have to stand your ground in this situation. You can't just keep being walked over, otherwise you're just making your own life miserable, and no one wants that in their own life, right? But a little bit 618 says, you need to be assertive with her, probably borderline rude, set your boundaries and don't let her cross them. And AliB64 says, I guarantee you're not the first person she's latched onto this way, and you won't be the first person to tell her she's intrusive, so figure out a nice way to tell her to get lost, and keep repeating it until she gets the message. And Woman says, I couldn't finish reading this as it was so uncomfortable, but I gather you are a nice human. Stop it. There is no rule that you have to be everybody's best friend or win a crown for having the patience of Job. Why did you join a contest to acquire Patsy of the Year award? You are not rude if/when you need to take care of yourself. The intrusive person is the rude one. Your home, your time, your life, your peace of mind, your gift to yourself. When the light bulb goes off, you do not have to take care of anyone else's feelings or be responsible for their entertainment or supply refreshments to them or even talk. Take care of yourself first, not some neighbor you are in no way responsible for. You have an invader. Act on ways to defend your life, not the invaders. And we have one more from Fluffy Designer saying, take your keys everywhere with you. Make a habit of locking the front door. When she comes over, say, sorry I can't chat right now, I was just leaving, and get in your car and drive away. Wait 10 to 15 minutes and come back. If she comes over and says, oh I forgot something, go into the house and hide. Make yourself unavailable to her. You don't have any coffee, you just ran out, you don't have a mug, the shelf broke last week and they all smash. So sad, such a tragedy. I've had to dodge my neighbours a few times, be creative, and eventually she'll either take the hint or get annoyed and decide it's too much trouble. Alternatively, get a bunch of cats and pretend to be crazy. This has also worked for me. Now, I'm not sure if I totally agree with that last comment. I mean, you're making your life a bit of a misery by having to go out 10 to 15 minutes and come back. Maybe she will get the hint at the end, and especially don't get loads of cats to keep her away. Seems kind of crazy, but hey, I guess it's another idea. But let's move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Prestigious Green 686. Neighbor threatened to shoot my boyfriend. I called the cops. I live in a condo on the second floor. Downstairs neighbor for 10 years has been an elderly woman. Then her son moved in, and now her daughter-in-law. The son, in his late 50s, has always been annoying. Saying we talk too much, hear us having sex, mad about the time of night I was doing laundry. Basically me living annoyed him. Then the last maybe year, he's been fine. Until his wife moved in a few months ago. She's a nightmare. Constantly hear her screaming about her husband that he's an arsehole, screaming at the dogs. Just always screaming. About a week ago, an ashtray that I'd forgotten on my balcony blew over and the butts ended up on their patio below me. I hear her screaming, then I'm a bad swear word, and a speed freak, and she's going to shove the butts down my throat. She ended up coming to my door, and this was the first time we've spoken. She was just yelling at me. I apologised, explained it was an accident, and offered to pick them up for her. She huffed and walked away. One night my boyfriend got home from work later than usual, around 11:30. He works second shift. He had to go back out to the car to bring something up, and she comes outside and starts screaming how inconsiderate he is for walking down the steps, and how she hears him doing it all night. He does stay up all night and sleeps like 6 AM till 2 PM. Then she says she's gonna get a gun and shoot him and punch me in the face and shove my teeth down my throat. I heard this and go out on my balcony and just say, "Excuse me?" She goes, "Fuck you, you meth heads. I'm gonna call the police. I hear you all night walking around." I said we are not meth heads, and she just interrupts screaming more. Then her husband calls her back inside. Neither of us raised our voices or said anything inappropriate. I called the cops. She threatened to do it, so obviously doesn't care. And she threatened to shoot us. Cops came out, I explained the situation, as did my boyfriend. Then they talked to her. We said we didn't want anything really to happen, just wanted it on the record if God forbid she did do something. Can't wait for tomorrow to see what happens. And then OP did post an update on this one as well. So update on neighbor threatening to shoot boyfriend. So I wanted to drop a quick update. I just went out to get my mail because I didn't see a car outside. However, the son/husband was on the patio. I made a non-committed grunting noise in response to his good afternoon, and since he was still there a minute later when I came back, I decided to talk to him. I said, "Listen neighbor, I don't want us to have any kind of problem." He said that she's gone for the week. She's just there to help him out at his business because he's having problems finding people, so she's sleeping on the couch, and when she doesn't get sleep she's crazy. Said that he thinks it might all be over anyway because he might have the business sold, and I think that means he's leaving. I remember something about moving south the last time he had mentioned selling the place 3 or 4 years ago. Either way, he was smiling and pleasant. It was very weird, and we ended the conversation a minute or two later after discussing general home maintenance issues. So everyone that's read this far, fingers crossed his business does sell, and hopefully they move and leave his spunky elderly mother here and we can all relax again. If anything else comes up, I'll update. I appreciate the support last time. Felt like I was in a Twilight Zone or something. And I think that was my biggest concern all the way through this. Obviously, concern that this couple might get shot by someone. That's obviously a massive concern. Don't get me wrong there. But I feel sorry for the elderly woman that was in there. There wasn't much said about her. And it's like, what's going on behind closed doors? If this woman's screaming all day, what's she like to the elderly woman? That was my biggest concern anyway. But I guess we're not going to find out what happened there. And we got a bit of a shorter one from Trashman in Furs who says, "Neighbors want me to take down ghost window decals. I just got this text from my horrible next door neighbors. One of the people in my building gave them my number. My apartment is pretty spooky, it's my aesthetic, and I have some cute ghost decals on my window. They're smiling cartoons, nothing scary or offensive. Hi, we would really appreciate you taking down the ghost stickers out of the window. We have spent and are continuing to spend thousands of dollars to improve our property. This includes negotiating with your landlord to remove the chain link fence and rotten material that is on our property line. We are footing the bill for this improvement, which will benefit everyone, including you. I don't think you understand that we literally have to look at the stuff in your windows from every living area in our home, our kitchen, den and dining room. We have no choice but to look at it unless we keep our shades drawn at all times. We will ask your landlord to intervene if needed, but it would be great if we could avoid this." Someone replied to this one and said you should reply with, "Oh my god, are they back?" Spoopy. And this one is from Hoopy223, "Crazy old man neighbor. Okay, so I moved from a very rural area to a city suburb full of mostly old people. Second day I'm there, it's yard sale day, so I have some shit on the driveway for basically free and I'm playing with my dog on my lawn. I look up and there's this weird old man dressed like a fly fisherman with a hat that says ice, and he pulls out a gun and points it at my dog and me. I yell at him to put it away and he does, then much to some bullshit I didn't catch and walks off. Told the police about it and talked to the neighbours, but nobody could find him. Fucker straight up disappeared. Well, a week ago I found him. He lives a few houses away and is such a recluse that his neighbours didn't know he existed after 2 years of living there. He only leaves the house once every week or two and never speaks to anyone. Tried talking to him and it turned into an argument and police were called. They didn't do anything apart from telling him to stay away from my dog. They didn't disarm him or anything either. Now here I am shopping for security cameras because my neighbour is nuts. Imagine how scary that would be though, just doing a yard sale, messing with your dog to look up and this man that just whips out a gun. That's like life flashing before your eyes kind of shit, isn't it? I mean, come on now. And I don't understand the US laws with guns and stuff like that, but pointing a gun at someone, surely that's threatening and they can take the gun off the person just for that. Surely you can't just go around pointing guns at people now, surely, come on now. And this one's from Fox Stitch, "Children and parents with no boundaries." So to preface this, I moved into my place last November. It's a trailer park and my yard is significantly smaller than everyone else's. Not being snarky, it legitimately is. The fence behind my trailer is made partially out of random wire and flimsy rotten wood. Ever since February, there have been random children in my yard every day. I've spoken to these children so many times that I've lost count. They've cut through my yard, leave trash and debris, go through my things, play in the yard, and have broken the fence 3 or 4 times. After catching one of them breaking the fence with the help of a parent, I reported it again to the park manager. She told me to take photos of them doing it and she would handle it. Well, the new property manager told me that it was my job to speak to them and the parents, completely bypassing everything that I told her. Even speaking to the parents didn't seem to help. A few weeks later, she posted the park rules, one of which specifically states that children and their friends are not allowed on other people's spots, even if they look empty. She posted that on everyone's door. I have since still had issues with children being in my yard. I just caught one in my yard again. I'm so frustrated, and I feel like I'm going to have a hernia. Help! And we'll start with thanks to Mango saying, I just posted, though not in detail, about a similar situation. The parents didn't give a shit until I confronted the kids about kicking my dog, and then all of a sudden I was the arsehole in the community for getting onto the kids. It's a bullshit situation you're in. My only advice is to post no trespassing signs and cameras in your yard. If they come on your property again, file a complaint with law enforcement. I say this knowing full well it could cause you a lot of hassle with your neighbours. It's unbelievable the amount of people who refuse to take responsibility for their children. And woman says, I hope you are just renting because you're going to need to get out of there. It will not get better and it will probably get worse. You cannot change/fix other people, and to confront the children of the damned will only get you in trouble, not them. Never touch, intimidate, threaten, or even approach a neighbour's child. Some of these kinds of people will pounce on you like nobody's business. They know the systems and probably have done it before. Stay safe and sane by leaving that community in the dust. Run. And Tinky1966 says, after reading all the horror stories you guys share, I've decided that if I have to rent somewhere, I'm going to become the crazy voodoo biker psycho Satan worshipping holy roller auto warranty selling neighbor they all fear. And we have one more from Primal Raven saying, going through something similar too. I think there's parents out there that because of COVID and online school, they think that they can let their kids run wild around the community without as much as checking in on them. That it's not their responsibility anymore because COVID is hard, or normally they'd be at school and not their problem. And COVID is hard, no doubt, but it's not acceptable for you to allow your kids to act out in such a way. I'm sorry you guys are going through this. And I just got to finish off with a quick one here because Hoopy says, hit him with a stick. Don't do that, but thought I'd have to read that one out. And we'll have one more from your fave Nate saying, I live in a row house in the bad part of my city. Not the best accommodations I know, but you take what you can get. I've had a lot of shit neighbours over the years, and the house next to mine has been raided 3 times by the police. Twice for drug dealers, once for a guy that came from NY State, I'm in PA, who was wanted for murder. Not the nicest neighbourhood, so obviously bad neighbours are going to come around, but this one family takes the cake. As you may have guessed, my neighbours change every few months, usually due to eviction. So a couple of years ago, in moves a middle-aged woman with her teenage son and daughter, who was something like 6 years old. New neighbours, no big deal. I didn't go to greet them or anything, that stuff is pretty atypical here. It's kind of a live and let live place. On the first night, I noticed there would be problems. The music was blasting from the kids' room. He was right next to me against the same wall until 11 PM. This actually isn't bad in my neighbourhood, but what was bad was what made it stop. He only turned it off once his mum started yelling at him to do so, and then she kept yelling. She was screaming her head off at him for every insignificant little detail about his room that he moved in today until 3 in the fucking morning. I just went downstairs to sleep on the couch instead of bothering to try and get sleep with that noise going. Fast forward a couple of days and I'm answering the door on Saturday morning, only to see that it's in fact the lady from next door. I was polite and courteous, as was she, and she had said she just wanted to get to know her new neighbours. We spoke for maybe 5 minutes before I got to the catch. She wanted to borrow $6,000. That was the cost for her husband's bail, and it would mean a lot to her if, as her neighbour, I would loan her the $6,000. I was apologetic as I could manage and turned her down. She flipped her shit. This bitch started off screaming and ranting at me about what a horrible person I was, and how unchristian I was. Not a Christian, and how she hated me. No biggie, closed the door, went inside, turned on some music and made a sandwich. A couple hours later, I'm gonna head downtown to meet up with some friends. I walk downstairs to my door, which has glass panes, and see she is still fucking standing there. She waited for me to come back for 2 hours. The second she sees me, she is back to yelling. So I took the back door out of the house and took the long way to the bus stop. Coming home, I've almost forgotten about the bitch. I got a ride home from a friend and a few of us are going to chill at my house for the rest of the night. It's been about 7 hours now, 11 PM. When we drive up and I literally just stop mid-conversation to say, no fucking way. My friends were obviously confused until I explained that the bitch was still fucking standing there. At this point, I realised that ignoring her was not working, so I apologised to my friends ahead of time, and then we went up to the door to confront her. Don't remember much of what she yelled about, except that she was so offended that I would sneak by her like that, like I'm supposed to give a shit. Anyway, we essentially collectively shouted her down and told her to fuck herself with a blowtorch until she left. As we're staying up late shooting the shit, laughing at my crazy neighbour and drinking, we heard her ranting at her son again all night. Come 5 AM, the cops are knocking on my door and asking if I saw the son, who apparently stole his mother's car and drove off. Can't say I approve of the method, but I definitely approve of the objective. He came back a couple of days later. As far as I'm aware, no charges were pressed. So for the next 5 months, this bitch was a constant migraine in my life. She would actually go outside with one of those little kiddie snow shovels, shovel up any dog shit from around the block and deposit it in my front door. I caught her doing this multiple times. I would just shovel it into the bed of a tree sitting out the front. That's good for it, right? I'm not a gardener. Until one day, a friend of mine came over and was asking what the shit was about. So he then threw it through her open window on the 3rd floor. Good fucking day. Another fun event consisted of her dumping paint cans on the sidewalk in front of my house. I actually liked that one. When I left in the morning, it was like walking on a fucking rainbow. My personal favourite though was when they were putting in an air conditioner. Her son was attempting to put it in the 3rd floor window and doing a poor job of it. Looked like he had never done it before. So being that I had no beef with the kid, I yelled up some advice as I was walking towards the bus stop that day. Then I hear from inside, "Who said that?" And she comes storming up to the window, looks out, sees me, and then proceeds to pry her son away from the window, shoves the air conditioner into his arms, and pushed the fucking store window out of its frame and out at me. She missed, but the attempt was not forgotten. She left later that month due to eviction. Best news I've ever had in my life. Oh my word, imagine having to deal with that. Drive me absolutely crazy. But it's one of these ones where I feel sorry for the boy in this situation. He sounds like getting shouted at and abused all the time, and we can only hope that somehow he's got a better life now. But what do you guys make of today's collection of Neighbours from Hell stories? Did you enjoy them? Do you have one of your own? Let us know in the comments below, as we always love to hear them. Thank you so much for your love, your support, and your time. It means the absolute world to me. And don't forget, we have a members video coming this Saturday, the 29th of May, 2021, just in case you're listening to this video at a later date. And you can watch that if you join via Patreon or through the YouTube membership. All the links are down below. Get involved. It'd be great to see you, but they won't affect the normal stories either. Again, thank you so much for your love, support, and time, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love. I've been thinking that I can't let you go. Hey, can you wait a little while? Why we're holding back, I don't know.